life is about reaching like that clairvoyant state to where like nothing's on your mind and everything is just still. But like, how does one get to that point to where like nothing affects them? I feel cause I'm just sitting here thinking, like, I feel like the psyche is kind of like that little voice in your head. I feel like it's like a caged animal in a sense, and like the brain is like would be like the cage, and like this beast, this cage, this animal inside this cage. It's like when you don't have when the animal doesn't have food, and this plays out in the physical too. Like when you don't have food, right? Then the animal's trying to find out a way to get food. So to actually go and get this information, the animal has to break free from this cage, and when it gets hungry, it starts eating at the bars and of the cage to get out of this cage, to get into the world and find food. While as you and these are so the black sheeps, or people who seek more in life, or people who go down that rabbit hole, so to say. And but then you have some animals that just go along with the food that has been given to them by the owner of this facility that houses caged animals. And so there's some animals that get fed by the owners of this facility, and they give information, but it's only information that they give them. It comes straight from them. They don't get any information from themselves. So these are more so the people who go along with things in this world. So, and the ones that don't get the food is more so the hostile animal that is usually like ducked off to the side of the facility or something in a cage, and they don't feed that animal because they're scared of this animal. They like, this animal will bite you if you even get close to it. And this is the animal that gets hungry and starts eating at the bars, so called the psyche, and it breaks free, and it starts eating at the bars, and it breaks free. And when it breaks free from the psyche, when it breaks free from the cage, then now it gets put into like open space, and that's that infiniteness of blankness. But it takes going, so by even eating at that cage, metaphorically speaking, what that's doing is going against everything you've been taught. Everything we've been taught is kind of puts a cage around us. So going against those things, learning everything we possibly can, we're kind of like going against that, and it's eating away at the cage around us, metaphorically speaking. So metaphorically speaking, is eating away at the cage around us. So when we break free from this cage, we get put into this infiniteness. This infiniteness is just this space of just space. Like, this is what it means to be, I guess, tapped into that infiniteness, always letting information come in, and you don't have to search for the information or wait for information to come into you to you. It's like breaking that cage, and like you just get put into this infiniteness. It's space. Space is infinite. So when we do that, everything, all the information comes to us, and it's putting ourselves in that space, in that black space, to where when we break free from that cage, it's a scary process because you get hungry, metaphorically speaking. You have to start eating at the bars. And when you do that, you break free from that facility, and now you're like a runaway animal in a sense, because all the other animals getting fed and they living how they, are supposed to in that cage. But when you break free from that cage, now you leave this facility, this, what's the place called that holds animals? Like, you can adopt, like, animals adopt dogs and stuff. So now you leave from that place, and now you out into the infinite space, and I think that's where the mind becomes still, and then you able to like receive information, being tapped into that infinite pool of just like information, and realizing like breaking free from even the chatter inside of the skull, inside of the brain, and just everything is quiet, and that's when everything comes to you, and that's when life can be lived to its fullest, when you reach that state of like clairvoyance, that sense of knowing. Like the sense of knowing doesn't come from actually knowing. The sense of knowing comes from not knowing. That's the God state, the all knowing. That comes from not knowing, entering everywhere with blank mind, so you're able to receive information. You know what I'm saying? And then I don't know. These just thoughts, cause even a set way to think is a sense of structure. So a sense of structure is like building that's architectural. So you're even having that is like putting yourself in a box, in a house, so to say. Not. That's why the sky is the limit. Even having that mind state is like that's putting like a box, like a fucking. But anyways, I just sitting back, and like when you really think about like drugs, like all the drugs that you can possibly do, it only unlocks a chemical that's inside of you. So I feel like it's being able to reach a state where you don't need any of that either, where you can access that without any external substance, because all the chemicals are already inside you. Like DMT just gets like released from the brain when you go to sleep or when you die. So there's like some kind of like connection there between sleep and death in itself. But and like all these things, so if you can enter that state without any external substance, and like I don't know, like jellyfish, like that's the only animal. Jellyfish, and like even going against like everything you've been taught, like they say like Satan evil and 666, but like I mean we in hell, and it's like shit. Lucifer ain't cut the air on. I was like, Lucifer, this shit hot, nigga. Shit struggling. Can you cut the air on? And Lucifer was like, the AC don't work, dog. We in hell, so it gets to a point where you just kind of burn the ashes and you evaporate, and you know things, so you don't even feel the heat no more. You just chilling in hell and shit, and then that's when the ashes turn to smoke, and then you ascend. Smoke goes up, so you start leaving out of hell. But you gotta get burnt first, I guess, metaphorically speaking. But jellyfish, like it's the only animal, or I don't even know if you want to call it an animal. It's the only like creature on Earth that has DNA that isn't traced back to Earth. So I'm like, what the fuck? Where the fuck does a jellyfish come from? If it has DNA that isn't traced back to Earth, where the fuck does it come from? And it's like jellyfish don't have brains, they don't have lungs, and they don't have a heart. So what the fuck is a jellyfish? So literally, they don't even die. They cells just multiply. Like they can take themselves and multiply themselves and make another jellyfish. And so where the fuck did a jellyfish come from? Like think about us. I'm thinking of it like, all right. So as a human, if I was a jellyfish and I didn't have, think about yourself as a human. Like yo, if we didn't have a brain, lungs, or a heart, what the fuck would we be? We would stop functioning. So like, I feel like being a jellyfish is like, that's like, that had to be like the first creature on Earth. Cause like, think about like before all this shit even happened, like before like even dinosaurs came about, like think about like in biblical terms, like we like it was water, it was the flood, and then Pangea happened, and so think about it before even things even come about. Before Pangea even happened, it was all water. The earth was made of 75% water. So it was a point in time when all the continents and all the land was underwater. So that means we had to derive from water. And like jellyfish is probably like one of the oldest things. So that had to be like one of the first things actually here. So where the jellyfish came from? The jellyfish had to come from outer space. Jellyfish can survive in outer space because they don't die, because they don't need anything. They don't need oxygen. They don't need any of this. So they can survive in outer space. So the jellyfish had to have come from like an, some other like some part of space, that infiniteness. So like even being a jellyfish, not being connected to the heart or the mind, that's like seeing yourself as more than a body, like being like a spirit. So I feel like it's reaching like jellyfish status. But anyways, and like so if jellyfish before even land even came about, that so a dinosaur had to have come from the water. Like a dinosaur was probably once a whale, and then the whale got on land and it started to adapt to its environment, and then it started to turn into a dinosaur or something because it started to adapt to its environment. Like the same way, like we it adapt to our environments. Like if I go to if like being a species as a human, like this is why if we look at like people that come are in colder areas and people who are in hotter areas, if you in a higher area, you close to the equator, so your skin naturally gets darker to protect itself from the sun. So and in these areas the air is more um it's not as cold, so you the oxygen isn't as thick, so the noses become enlarged in to be able to get in more air. While as if you're in a colder area, your skin it isn't you don't have to fight against the sun as much, so the skin becomes lighter and the nose doesn't have to suck in so much air. It has to protect itself from the air, it's being because it's too dense or it's not dense enough. So but anyways, so I don't know. Would a jellyfish have a soul? I think a jellyfish is a soul, bro. I think a jellyfish is a soul. Like when we die, we might turn into jellyfish and then just go into outer space. But but anyways, before this even happened and Pangea and stuff, like think about like a whale turned into a dinosaur. And because and if you even look at stuff like the boat came before the airplane, so that means the the fish came before the bird, so that means it started off as a whale and then it became a dinosaur and then pterodactyls it started then the pterodactyls came into part and stuff, and so everything derived from the water. So we was probably like once mermaids and shit. But anyway, but yeah, like a jellyfish ain't a jellyfish multiply. Like jellyfish are probably like really good like nutrients. Like if you can eat a jellyfish, if I'm gonna see if they got jellyfish somewhere, that's probably some really good nutrients. Cause they don't die. And like what else? Jellyfish, like they can, and if you really think about it, if jellyfish can survive in outer space and the ocean have like a lot of correlation. You know what I'm saying? Like they really do. You if you can you float in water the same way you would float in outer space. It's both zero gravity, nigga. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know, man. But yeah, I feel like life is just about like even talking like this is like kind of breaking the barriers, those structures that's been put on the mind. So where you can exist outside of it. The same way jellyfish do. They don't have a mind or a heart. I don't know. These are just thoughts. Like, but yeah, I feel like it's about fighting all that, and then once you get out of the brain and just able to walk through life with just like a blank mind, like nothing on the mind, no chatter in the skull, no none of that, and just simply existing. You know what I'm saying? To exist means to be in the present moment, like, and have no concept of time. Have no time, no concept of past or future, which is really what a soul is ultimately. So to be timeless, you have to exist in a place where there's no time. Have no concept of that, no, and to just exist in that moment is very vital, because even looking at how the world is set up, it's set up to keep you focused on time, focused on the next thing happening, or focused on the past, or focused on these things to keep you, or like structure, or like any job or anything is all put here to like keep us focused on not being in the present moment and just simply existing as we should. All these distractions and all this stuff to keep us from existing in the present time. Because then that's the only way you can alter the future, is by existing in the present time. Like, it's really a setup. Like, all this shit is really a setup to keep you from being able to just simply be. And that's when everything is the most beautiful. That's when you get to soak up everything. That's when you hear the birds chirping, and you can hear the layers within the birds chirps, and just the little things are able to just, you know what I'm saying? Like, these are just thoughts and shit. Like, and even being in the space of just existing, that's when all the information comes to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you really think about it, even pain, or even anything, stress, or if you think of anything, it all derives from not being in the present moment. Stress, that's worrying about the future. If you're in the present moment, that doesn't exist. Pain is something that hurt. Past tense. You get hit, but as soon as you get hit, you ain't hit no more. But you still feel that pain because you in the past tense. So if you could like if we could learn how to like exist in the present like permanently, we wouldn't even know what pain is. We wouldn't even know what hurt is. We wouldn't know what none of this means. We would literally be invincible. I don't know. This is my thoughts real quick.